There's a number of different pathways that people use to produce cut tulips in Ontario, but broadly speaking, more often than not, you'd look at getting your tulip bulb onto the farm. In most cases, that's probably going to come from Holland or maybe even some South American countries. That gets brought into the country, cold treated for a period to ensure that the bulb is ready to spike and to bloom at the right time of year. We want that tulip ready for Mother's Day, so the cold treatment has to happen in time to make that work. The bulbs will then be planted. In this farm, they have a large hydroponic system, and so you'll see that the bulb gets planted into a box, which allows water to run over it, allows the tulip to grow through it. So you're going to need them to go through the cold treatment so that they are ready to be forced to bloom at that time, and to allow them to bloom for whatever holiday you're looking for. Between 3 and 5 weeks from then, we might have a flower which can then be cut. And so in this farm, we'll see the tulip crates or boxes will move to the workers. The workers can remove the ready to pick flowers, cut off the bulb, process them, make sure we match them with length, and then work towards packaging them. This is a labor-intensive activity, producing something like cut tulips. And in this farm, they're using a number of different automation tools to help achieve those outcomes. That makes a big difference by having the product come to the worker to do the processing and accelerating it instead of having them walk the crop. So in Holland, you have farms that are very large that produce one thing, and so you can invest in a limited number of automation, at least for that farm. Whereas some of the farms that are here might be producing a few hundred different species. So for them to perform the same kind of automation, they need a lot of different capabilities in the robots or a lot of different robots. In a greenhouse environment like this, you can ensure that they're ready specifically for the market. In outdoor production, however, you're not really going to see that timing in the same manner, depending on the climate of where they're grown. In Ontario alone, we account for over $1 billion in farm gate sales, as well as, I believe, over $650 million of export annually. Right here, largely based out of Niagara, Ontario's production of flowers accounts for about 50% of all the flower production in the country, making the sector a pretty significant contributor to the region. And from right here in Niagara, there's over 100 million potential consumers in a one-day drive, which makes it a great hub for accessing a border, getting things across the border. Secondly, there's a huge population of Dutch immigrants who came here and brought that familiarity in producing flowers, especially in the 1950s. And with so many settling in the same area, that created this hub of production and knowledge, which has spread out to other parts of the province as well. So it is a dynamic trade relationship. There's a dependence on access to some of those products from outside the country. It's not just a one-way relationship of shipping south of the border. And then in addition to that, being really close to Lake Ontario provides a really great microclimate for ensuring we have the right humidity and the right conditions for greenhouse production. The same thing for other types of flowers. So you look at like roses, cut roses as an example, right? Those are just so easy to ship. The climate is so good to produce them in places like Colombia that it became very difficult to compete in that, which is why a lot of producers have focused on a lot of these things that grow really well in the Ontario climate, really well timed here, cost effective, or things that are hard to get in from other locations. They have to get it to market when it's most commercially viable, and there can be competing priorities. For instance, if you want to supply flowers for both Easter and Mother's Day, that can be a challenge because the number of days between Easter and Mother's Day changes every year. So you have to manage your production to be able to hit one or the other or both and keep everything moving at the right time to make that happen. I think supporting local flowers is important for Canada and for Canadian consumers because it does help to bring that economic opportunity back. You're supporting local businesses, local agriculture, huge contributors to their local economies. All of that, I think, is incredibly valuable and incredibly important. Producing in a greenhouse like this allows a vast amount of production that just isn't possible outdoors using the same footprint. So not only are we creating local jobs, stoking the local economy, but we're bringing back resources from other countries and bringing money into this country from other areas. And then beyond that, if you want to select a Canadian flower, in many cases they're tagged with where they were grown. In other cases, it's just as easy to select certain varieties. But at the end of the day, there's no bad flowers. Just buy flowers, you're doing the right thing.